I just think that anybody who has not been here is missing something tremendous. I mean, I think it's a wonderful place to come. You don't get museum fatigue. You're not exhausted. It's diverse.
We have a press room where we press our grapes, a champagne room where we make and store some of our champagnes, and of course we have our very lovely wine cellars that you can walk through.
Hello, I'm Brian Madden. This week on the river, we're going to meet some women and how the Hudson River affects their lives and their jobs. We're going to Yonkers, the Hudson River Museum, and we'll be in Highland again, this time at the Hudson Valley Winery. We're going to go on a tour. We're going to find out a little bit more about what goes along on the side of the river, right here on the river, when we come back. The Hudson River Museum in Yonkers was founded in 1919. It is called the primary cultural institution whose collections and programs specifically address the experience of Westchester and the lower Hudson region. Bonnie Rosenblum is the museum's associate director.
Our location on the Hudson River is probably the single most important thing about the museum. It certainly gives us a spectacular view. I think you'll agree that our view of the Palisades is fabulous, and I think that all that we do has to do with the American experience. And the Hudson River is probably one of the most fascinating rivers in the United States, both because of its length and the fact that it's an estuary, and because it has so much going on with it in every way. And I think that the museum is very tied in with the river in our programming. We are committed to the Hudson River School of Painting and showing works by the Hudson River School of Painting, and particular works that are lesser known and lesser shown. We have an exhibition almost every year of the drawings of Hudson River School and the studies of Hudson River School painters, generally one a year, and as well as important landscape exhibitions. And there's a really exciting one coming up in 1988, which is called Above the Clouds. And what it tries to focus on is man's changing vision of nature. And we're going to have all of the most well-known Hudson River School painters involved with that. So that all of our programming, I think that landscape painting in general, but particularly works that relate to the Hudson River and the American experience and better understanding man's relationship with nature, is a very important part of what we're about. So if we do that with a river festival in which we have all sorts of different resource people and artists, we had everything from a sound map of the Hudson, when we literally traveled down the Hudson 315 miles just through sound and through interviewing different people who worked and made their livelihood from the river. So it's a very important focal point for the museum, and I think it is, in one way, the hub that ties all of our other programming together. And I think that as time goes on, you'll see more and more programming about the Hudson River. In fact, we're going to have 1 year devoted to the Hudson River. And we're trying to form a Hudson River Institute, which would be a clearinghouse for information, because there's a lot of groups, obviously, that are involved with the river, and there isn't really one place that tells you everything you need to know. And I think we'd like to be involved with that and have programs and courses. We already have collaborations with colleges nearby about river programming. Marymount is involved with us, and Iona and College of New Rochelle. So, and as we get further along with the Institute, we'll be involving them in actually the planning of it. Well, we're busy all the time. We're open Wednesday through Sunday. We have a very ambitious schedule. We have a lot of changing exhibitions in the museum. The mansion is really a permanent collection and really what doesn't change, but we have ancillary galleries right in the mansion as well as in the main galleries that are continually changing. And because we have a planetarium, we have a science area outside of the planetarium, and so the staff is kept very, very busy, changing exhibitions, changing programming for it, and constantly fundraising.
There is a marriage of the old and the new at the museum. The Trevor Mansion, built in 1876, allows us to take a look at the past.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that about the mansion, because I think it's the experience that makes the museum so unique, in that you come into a very contemporary building that was built in 1969. And it was built as an addition to the mansion. The mansion was built in 1876 by a man by the name of John Von Trevor, who was a stockbroker and banker. And he lived here. It was one of his homes, and with his, he built it for his second wife. And the inherent things in the mansion, the tiles, the Minton tiles, and all the stenciling, all the detailing work, I guess is the part that attracts people when they come to the museum so deeply. But it's ironic that in about 1923, when Trevor had moved out, the city of Yonkers bought this building and also all the acreage of land around it. They bought it for $100,000 in 1923, which was a lot of money. And what they did was they converted it to the Yonkers Museum of Arts and Sciences. And it was very much an institution. And we had everything from rocks and minerals to all of the kind of idiosyncratic objects that people pick up when they go to Europe. Marble thumb from the Acropolis. And we had all sorts of natural history objects as well. And we even had a stuffed elephant in the 50s. So the mansion itself was the house for the collection. And all of the detailing work, the stenciling, was all removed and painted green. And it really wasn't until 1969 when the city of Yonkers said, okay, we're going to help you, because we were like out of the windows in terms of the collection and in terms of all the things that we had going on. They built the extension and the inner courtyard to the extension. And I think they meant it to be a marriage of old and new, and it's a very sharp contrast. The Contemporary Galleries is one of the first concrete reinforced buildings built in the United States. So it's an intriguing building, and I think what the architects had in mind was that the river would come into the museum, and that clearly happens through the very large windows. So you have a house that puts it in context in terms of the lifestyles of people who lived in this period on the river. And you also have the present as reflected in the Contemporary Galleries, and we have a planetarium that really talks about the future. So we think of ourselves as the past, present, and future, and an art history and science museum. And that's very much something for everyone, which I think is really what makes it very exciting. We were founded, as I told you, in 1911. The city of Yonkers decided they wanted a museum. So really until 1984, we were a city of Yonkers facility. And in '84, they completely pulled out, and so we no longer receive any money from the city of Yonkers. We get a grant on a yearly basis from the county, and so that we lobby each year for funds from the county. Last year we received $630,000. Now that's a matching arrangement, which means that we have to get private donations from individuals or corporations to match the $630,000 in order to release the $630,000. We have a $1.6 million budget, and it really should be about $2 million, and then we would flourish. Right now it's very rough at 1.6 because we have a big facility and a lot going on. So that our funds are chiefly from the county and from corporations. We get good corporate support from the federal government, from NEA and NEH and hopefully IMS each year. That's the Institute of Museum Services. And we also get money from individuals. And that's chiefly what I've been doing for the last 3 years, is really helping to diversify the museum's funding base. Because when you're a municipal facility, there really isn't any need for fundraising because the city underwrote it so completely. And there wasn't the old philanthropic connection that could have been in a museum our age. I mean, we're a relatively, nice size and nice age in terms of museums in the United States. So it's an interesting thing because it is happening in the United States that municipal facilities are losing their funding and they have to diversify. And I think we're pretty effective with that now. I think that's gotten a lot better. But we would like to raise money to form an endowment so that we would have a cushion that would enable us to really flourish without having a real financial problem.
In the past 5 years, due to the location, Bonnie has seen a lot of the river. Yet, even having to compare it to another, she says she feels the Hudson always will be her favorite.
I live in Mamaroneck on the Sound, and so I really have an advantage of being able to see both bodies of water. I think the Hudson River is the most dynamic body of water that I have ever come across. I think it is fascinating and fantastic, and I remember the first week I was here, I got a call from a woman who was hysterical because it had been snowing and the ice caps on the river were going in 2 different directions, and she didn't know what was going on. She thought the world was coming to an end, and I explained to her that the river is an estuary, and I think it's a fascinating river, and the changes that I've seen happening, well, obviously there is more awareness of it as an important source of of both economy in terms of fishing that's happening on the river, and an important resource. I think access to the river is essential. I think public access is very important. And I would like to see the kind of change and development that goes along the river really take into consideration access to it and the beauty of it. I mean, it's clearly the most beautiful. I mean, we're so close to New York City, and this area was very industrialized. And it's unfortunate that that really blocked the vision. You know, there's a poster that we use of this New York Central lines that's part of our collection, and it shows a really beautiful river with boating and a fabulous Palisades and a vision of the river that, in fact, the New York Central lines blocked. I mean, when it came in, it was the only way you could see that vision of the river was when you were on the railroad. So I'm hoping that somehow they'll build over that and be able to really bring the river back. I think Yonkers is beginning to realize its assets more. I think they see us as a tremendous asset. And we are a county facility now, which has made a very big difference for us. We serve all over Westchester County, and we have school groups coming from all over Westchester and doing programming for people all over. And I think that that's very important for us and for Yonkers. I think the whole county needs to look at each other as a resource. Yonkers is peculiar, you know, because it's the 4th largest city in New York State. It's so big, and it has all the problems of New York and not the resources. So I think that's changing, and I think they're becoming more aware of our relationship with the river as well. Anybody who has not been here is missing something tremendous. I mean, I think it's a wonderful place to come. You don't get museum fatigue. You're not exhausted. It's diverse. We have a beautiful planetarium that we just have purchased, a brand new star machine, which will be one of the first of its kind in the world. So people can come here and really get the state of the art in terms of planetarium in this country. And I think that we're doing a lot of exciting things. So I hope we'll get a lot of members and a lot of people will come often, because that's what this place is about. It's very responsive to the public, I think.
Now meet Joyce Green, the chairwoman of the board of the Hudson River Museum. She says she never aspired to that position, but she loves it.
I started as a volunteer here at the museum more than 10 years ago because they were having a fascinating exhibition called Cornellians Collect, the items of art that people in Westchester who went to Cornell University have for their own collection. And that's how I got started. We are a museum that reflects the interests of people who live in Westchester County. And that interest has continued over the period that I've been here. I went through being a volunteer. I became a board member for several years. And then I was president. Now I am chairman of the board. The museum itself, located here on the river, slightly below the Tappan Zee Bridge, will extend your interest into the area of the river where the movement from New York City up the Hudson started. And our location here is on what was a mansion for one of the earliest country homes of somebody who was a stockbroker in New York City, came up the river and established his home. That was John Bon Trevor, whose mansion we are in at the present time. And this was his country home on the river.
And what keeps Joyce Green coming back?
Well, for me personally, I am not an artist or an art historian. My interests, I call myself a people person. I am interested in the fact that this is a wonderful place for people to come, for families to come with their children, for people to come and explore their place in the community, in Westchester, in New York, and if you want, in the universe, because we also have a planetarium here at the museum. So for a people person, such as I am, this has a lot to offer. You're situated right here on the river, overlooking beautiful Palisades on the New Jersey shore, which will be preserved forever wild because of the Rockefeller bequest, so that we have the perfect backdrop. And I must say that when I first saw the paintings of the Hudson River School painters, who were a group of artists painting along the river in the late 1800s, I thought, oh, they are really making it up. Those cliffs couldn't be that beautiful. The clouds couldn't be that prominent. But I challenge anyone to come here on a bright day and look at what the Hudson River School painters saw and believe that that was really true. And they really did paint, not an idealized setting, they were painting realists. And that is something that all people can relate to. The children love the paintings and the parents can enjoy it with them.
And what changes have the people of Westchester seen in the river?
It's a lot cleaner. You used to be able to see things floating down even from our vantage point up here. It's a very clean river now. It is being revitalized as a boating area. Just below the museum here, we have a marina in process of being constructed so that people will be able to come to the museum by boat from across the river or from up the river and come for lunch and see the museum, visit the planetarium, and make it a stop on their water trip. The Hudson River was the key to the interior. When the settlement first started, they realized that the way to get to the interior portion of the country was the river, and it was extended actually by the Erie Canal over to Buffalo. So that it has been the main waterway, the main highway, if you will, of the development of the area. And as a highway, it is constantly being improved. Many people use it just for commuting, going to work. They use it for pleasure, all kinds of boats on the river. We use it for freight. We transport country products down to the city and other things up to Albany. When they were building the mall in Albany, I believe the stone came up the river. So that it is a very useful waterway. And of course we share it with New Jersey, and that makes it very nice too, to be friendly that way. I really would like to urge people to come and see the museum on the river, because we try always in the exhibitions that we have to have something that does relate to the river. We've had paintings of the ecology of the river, the birds and the fish and that kind of thing that we've shared with the sloop that comes up and down the river. We will have more and more events focusing on the river because of the improvement that is occurring to the park, on John F. Kennedy Pier that is just below the museum. Actually, we once had a dance festival down on the pier, even though it was not improved. It shows that there are many things along the river that people can come and relate to. It is a park. You can picnic down by the river. I've even seen men go crabbing and pull blue claw crabs out of the river right here in Yonkers. So there's a lot of ecology and country living that we can have right here in the city. So I want everybody to come and join us.
It sits majestically overlooking the Hudson River, the 325-acre estate of the Hudson Valley Winery. Diane Martin is the manager.
We have tours and tastings daily, and on the weekends we have Harvest Festival going on right now. We have lots of activities going on. We have different games like Needle in a Haystack and Pumpkin Push. We have pumpkins for sale. We have free hay rides. We have the band Arizona who comes in, and we have a big stage outdoors that you can go up and dance on. And we have tours and tastings all day long. It's a continuous thing from 10 to 5. We are going to have festivals every weekend throughout December, including candlelight tours in December with Santa Claus and goodies for the children. We try to make everything very festive and very countrified. We try not to become too commercialized, and we leave, as you can see, all the buildings here are in an old world style. We leave everything as it is, and we make everything very relaxed atmosphere.
And how did the winery come to be here in Highland?
Originally, it belonged to a banker named Adolphe Bolognese, and he also owned some racehorses, and he had this as a summer home. The manor house, which is a beautiful 14-room manor house, was his summer home. And he began to plant the vineyards as a hobby. And then during the stock market crash, he turned to the vineyards as a ways and means of supporting his family, and he sold the wines as sacramental wines. And about 12 years ago, the present owner, Mr. Herbert Feinberg, bought it, and he opened the gates up to the public because it is a very, very beautiful estate overlooking the river, and it is just a wonderful place to spend a whole day. So he felt that everybody should come and enjoy the estate and enjoy the wines here. So now we're open to the public every day.
And what is the attraction here for Diane?
I think the river, the foliage, and just the whole atmosphere of being very country. I think a lot of people that come in from the city, and it's not too far. We're only 70 miles from the city, so it's an easy place to reach in a day and spend a very nice day outside in the fresh air. Learn a little bit about wines from the vines to the bottle, which we do bottle on the estate, so they can learn a little bit and have a really fun day here and be able to get home the same day.
Diane says she hopes the river will in the future play an even greater role in the winery's daily operation.
We had a marina down there at one time, and now that they have the riverboat tours, it would be a really great idea, you know, to come down the river and on the way back up, stop at Hudson Valley Winery, but that's something that might be in the future.
In her 5 years with the Hudson Valley Winery, Diane has seen quite a few changes in the river.
It's becoming more active, it's being used more often now, and people are, I think, now more able to enjoy it. There's more boats in the area. And now with the riverboat tours that are going up and down, I think people that don't have boats can enjoy the river also. It's really nice. What the river has done for this particular area, we're in a valley here, we have very, very great grape crops each year because of the climatic situation it creates. It's always moist. We have excellent soil from this river. And we have precipitation when other people don't have it, so it creates a very, very good harvest every year. We have a good harvest every year since we've been open. We make all the wine on premises, yes. It's pressed here, it's aged here in our wine cellars, and it is bottled here. And we label it estate bottled. We have about 100 acres of vineyards right now. Sometimes we cut back on them because we don't need as much as we have sometime. We do sell some of the grapes off to other wineries that don't grow their own grapes. But we've had a plentiful harvest every year. We have a 14-room manor house where we serve group buffets, bus groups that come in and want to have a tour and buffet package. So we service them through the manor house. We have a very lovely museum where we have very old-fashioned winemaking tools and facilities that were used many years ago. We have a press room where we press our grapes, a champagne room where we make and store some of our champagnes, and of course we have our very lovely wine cellars that you can walk through. We have oak casks that have been imported in many years ago from Europe and put together without one nail. It's very interesting down in the cellars also. And we have a St. Vincent cask down in the wine cellar that is very, very, very old and very interesting to look at the carving on it. That is a point of interest here at the winery. We also have a clock tower that is part of the bottling plant that overlooks the entire area. You know, that we used to have people go up there. We don't have them go up there any longer, but that is also a very beautiful point of interest for the winery. The Bologneses lived here for, I believe, 5 or 6 years.
So what message does Hudson Valley Winery have to share?
You should come over and enjoy a weekend outing with your family and enjoy tasting our wines and enjoy the beautiful scenery we have here, especially the river.
And before we go, we have this item. This past week, the Hudson River Environmental Society and the New York State Department of State held a conference to discuss the changing waterfront along the Hudson. 3 separate workshops were being held all at the same time at the Holiday Inn in Kingston. The main address was given by Secretary of State Gail Schaefer, who had a proposal or two.
My first proposal is to develop a series of coastal investment opportunity portfolios. These portfolios, which would be drawn from your local waterfront revitalization programs, would provide a detailed database for each community project that you have identified in your various communities as essential to the improvement of your waterfront area. Portfolio projects will range from the construction of support facilities and infrastructure necessary to encourage water-dependent industry expansion to the acquisition of environmentally sensitive areas for the preservation of irreplaceable coastal resources. Those portfolios would first demonstrate graphically the extraordinary vitality of our coastal communities and their powerful economic as well as environmental potential. Secondly, they would serve, very importantly, as a marketing tool to induce commitment of both private and public sector funds, capital that we need for these waterfront proposals. Third, they would be a standard for government agencies and for the legislature to evaluate how public funds could best be spent to provide for the most economically and environmentally and socially acceptable projects on the waterfront.
Schaefer also added to her proposals by calling for the establishment of a coastal conservancy
that would have the authority to buy property, to improve its condition, to place restrictions on the title deed as to the property's use, and to dispose of it to either private or not-for-profit or local or state entities. That conservancy could be financed through the issuance of revenue bonds and through the conservancy's participation as a principal in property development and improvement and disposal.
Schaefer says her proposal would enable the state to intervene early and quickly on the public's behalf to ensure the appropriate and beneficial use of the waterfront. They'll meet again next month in Tarrytown. And let's hope we meet again right here next week on the river.